Yo, what's going on, dudes? Hopefully everyone is doing okay, so welcome back to the channel. So we're going to have a quick chat about that first ride back out. It's been a while since I've been on the bike. If you saw my last video, it was just a wee update on the channel and about me getting out back on the bike for the first time. But it can be a nerve-wracking thing, especially in January, you know, when it's cold, it could be slippy, it could be icy, all that sort of stuff. So I'm going to give you my tips to help keep you safe. So obviously the first thing you want to really look at is your gear. You know, you want to make sure that you've got adequate gear for what you're doing. You know, if you're going to be out in winter, make sure you've got the right clothes on, you know, warm clothes, but you have to make sure that although the clothes are warm, you have to make sure that they're protective. You know, if something happens, you're going to be okay. You want gear that's just as good as your protective summer gear, if not better, you know, because you're essentially putting yourself in a more dangerous situation because of the road conditions. And that also goes for gloves. At the moment I've got my summer gloves on. I wear them 90% of the time throughout the year. The reason being is because I've got 3 pairs of gloves that I use. I've got my summer gloves, I've got my winter gloves, and I've got my waterproof gloves. Now the winter gloves and the waterproof gloves are really good, they're really warm, and they keep you dry. You know, they do keep you dry, which is the whole point. The problem with them is when you put them on, it looks like your hands are the Incredible Hulk. They are massive, you know, so it can be really fiddly trying to get lights, indicators, all that sort of stuff. So it just gets a wee bit irritating, you know, whereas these, they're quite thin on your hands and you can get all the switches nice and simple. But what I like to do is, if it is cold, I've got like a thin pair of thermals. They're actually the kind of stuff that snowboarders and skiers use. It's no good if it's raining, you know, they're not going to keep you dry, but they do help keep you warm. And that goes the same for your jacket. You know, a lot of jackets nowadays, they come with a thermal lining. You take it out in the summer, put it on in the winter, and it's more than adequate enough. Whether it's waterproof or when it's raining, that's another thing. But you know, you can get waterproofs that you can put over your clothes anyway. I use Oxford rain seal stuff, and it is absolutely amazing. You know, I've never had a problem with it. And it's actually Oxford rain seal gloves that I use for my waterproof gloves, and they're absolutely fine. And then as for your helmet, I mean, your helmet's, it's the same helmet you're going to be wearing throughout the year, but obviously you can get scarves and stuff and face masks you can put on, but it depends, you know. Obviously some face masks can make it feel a bit kind of claustrophobic, if you know what I mean, when you've got it on and you've got the helmet on. You know, it just feels like everything's smooshed onto your face. So kind of, you can shop around and see what kind of suits you best, but you can get that sort of stuff if that's the kind of thing you're looking for. And then obviously the most important thing, you know, is how you ride. If you saw my last video, that was my first ride out in about 6 weeks, and my first ride was basically in the middle of winter, you know, so not ideal. And a lot of people don't ride in these conditions, and that's absolutely fair enough. You know, some people are only summer riders, and again, that's absolutely fair enough. You know, some people will only go out if it's dry and not a cloud in the sky. Other people will go out 12 months of the year. You know, I like to get out as much as I can throughout the year. You know, obviously lately it's not been ideal purely because of the road conditions. You know, it's been cold, it's been icy, you know, it's slippy, so it's not the kind of thing you want to be taking chances with. So what about the actual riding part then? You've got all the gear sorted, your bike's prepped, you know, you've gave it a good scrub, you've absolutely coated it in ACF 50. You know, if you're looking for a good corrosion stuff for winter, get ACF 50. I've been using it and it is so good. So good. But obviously you don't apply it to your brakes and stuff like that, you know. Just be careful with it when you're putting it on, you don't get it on your brakes. If you do, brake cleaner, that's the best way to get it off. Don't just wash it off, because it's not guaranteed to come off, because it's like a thick kind of coaty stuff, and you put it on, you rub it in, and then you leave it, and it does take a while to come off, so it'll be there for several washes. So if you get it on the brakes, it's not going to come off unless you get it some sort of kind of solvent for it, like brake cleaner. And don't worry, alright, the first time I done this, I freaked out. I was like, oh god, I've ruined my bike. You can put it on your exhaust, absolutely fine, but what you'll find is when you start your bike, it'll smoke like hell. It's not coming out of the exhaust, it's just the ACF 50, it's just on the exhaust. The heat's just, you know, making it smoke. So don't worry about it if it smokes. Just, you know, leave it to run for a wee while, or jump out on the bike go for a wee run, and won't be long taking care of itself. So yeah, so if you apply that stuff for the winter and it starts to smoke, don't panic, alright, that's normal. Obviously if it's still doing it a day later, then yeah, there might be something wrong, but it shouldn't take that long to disappear, maybe 10-20 minutes, something like that. So your bike's all prepped, so what do? It's the winter, alright, the roads are going to potentially be greasy, they're going to be slippy in places. The lower the temperature, the higher the risk, so just bear that in mind. Don't deliberately go out, you know, when it's icy, because it's just not worth it. It's just not worth it. We're not like a car. You know, if a car goes over a sheet of ice, the car could potentially lose control, of course, but a car's got 4 wheels, we've got 2. If we lose control on ice, we're going down. It's that simple. Check ahead, check the weather forecast, check the temperature, all that sort of stuff. If it's too slippy and you don't need to go out, don't go out. It's that simple. If the temperatures are up and you're positive there's no ice on the roads and it's just wet, then sure, go out, get that experience. That's what makes you a better rider. But just be careful, alright? You need to be careful. You can't go riding like you do in the dry. You can't even go riding like what you do in the wet, alright? Because you can get July and it rains, but that's different. If you get January and it rains and the temperatures are down a bit, the roads are going to be slippy, alright? All this white stuff, all the road markings, all the drains, they're all going to be slippy as hell. So right now, I'm off the throttle just now, you know, I'm just coasting towards this traffic light because I can see it's red, alright? I'm not being harsh on the brakes if I don't need to. You know, there's absolutely no much point taking any risks that could potentially put you in a dodgy situation when you don't have to do it. Make sure that you're scanning absolutely everything, you know, make sure that that little radar on top of your helmet is set to 11, you know, put it at its highest setting in your watch for absolutely everything. You know, is there a shiny bit on the road up at that corner? What could that be? Okay, I'm going to adjust my position just in case. I'm going to get off the power a wee bit just in case. You know, oh, it's just a puddle, that's fine. But you don't know that at the time. It could be a sheet of ice, it could be black ice, you don't know. You know, so you've got to take that kind of approach where you're looking at absolutely everything and you're making sure that whatever's in your way, you're going to be able to navigate it. And of course that comes down to speed as well. Keep your speed down, you know. We all like to have fun, but there's a time and a place. Winter time isn't that time, you know. Winter time is for, if you want to get out on the bike, get out the bike and get that experience in those kind of conditions. You know, it can be fun as well, don't get me wrong. It's not, you're not going out in bad conditions just to get experience and not enjoy it. You know, what's the point if you're going to go out and you're not going to enjoy it? And the same with cornering. It can be one of the most dangerous aspects of riding a bike, and of course doing it in the winter, it's a lot more dangerous, especially with corners that you can't see around. You know, corners that you can't see around are dangerous anyway, but when there's potential for slippy bits, ice, whatever. And of course, if you're out and you feel that the back end's a little bit light or the front end's a little bit light, just think to yourself, do I need to be out? If the answer's no, go home. If the answer's yes, take your bloody time to wherever you're going, you know, because the lighter it feels, the slidier it is. And it's not a fun feeling on a slidey road and you apply the back brake a little bit and it starts to go like that. That's not a nice feeling, you know. And one of the best ways to tell is when you're out on the bike, you can hear the tyres on the tarmac, you can hear it. And if you don't hear that, then you're on a slippier part of road, alright? The slippier it is, the less noise your tyres make, alright? That's one thing to think about, is if your tyres are not making a lot of noise on the road. So, you know, take your time, avoid all the white stuff, avoid the shiny stuff, you know, avoid harsh braking, avoid harsh accelerating. Make sure that your observations are absolutely on point. Make sure that the ones you're doing are massive, you know, big massive lifesavers. As long as you're prepared, alright, as long as you've got all your gear correct, you've got your bike prepped, you've also got yourself in the right mindset, because you need to make yourself aware that you're going out in conditions that could be slippy and you could potentially be in a little bit of a hairy situation if you're not careful. Make yourself aware of that, and by doing that you're going to make your observations better, you're going to make your clutch control, your throttle, your braking, all that just a little bit more subtle, just to keep you that wee bit extra safe. And like I said before, if you don't have to be out, don't go out. If it's okay, if the temperatures are slightly up and you know it's not going to be slippy, like ice slippy, go for it, just take your time. And if in doubt, don't go out. Just remember that, alright? If you're not sure, stay in the house, put your slippers on, have a cup of tea. There will always be another day to get out on your bike. as long as you take your time. You know, that's the most important thing about all these different situations, is your time. You're in no rush. There's absolutely no rush. Obviously, if your first ride's out on a nice warm day, then you know, after a couple of hours, maybe even less, you might just, you know, second nature everything again, and you'll be back out to the way you used to ride. But regardless if you pick it up that quick or not, just, you know, take your time, you know. That's going to be it for this kind of winter riding video. I thought I'd just bring you that. Since it's January, it's cold, it's miserable, and I've been talking to a lot of people online and in Discord, and people are getting out when they're getting the chance. So I thought, you know what, let's try and give people who are new to riding a little bit of help and advice for if they decide to go out in this time of year. Well, anyway dudes, hopefully you've enjoyed this. If you have, give it a thumbs up. I really do appreciate every single one of your likes, and of course if you want to see all of my uploads, click on that subscribe button and ring the bell while you're there. That way you'll get notified every time I upload a video. But until next time dudes, stay safe, ride safe, take it easy.